The video, I'm going to give you the link at the end, and you guys can watch the video. The video, essentially, we're talking about electrosmog, or we call it EMF, which is electromagnetic fields. Essentially, this pollution is an epidemic right now. Hey, howdy. It's an epidemic because technology essentially has infiltrated. There's no safe zone for this EMF. You can't really escape it. Okay, and now it's been around long enough that you're able to study the health effects. And now there's been over 6,000 research studies on the health effects of electromagnetic fields. So the health effects are obviously not good ones. The human nervous system is not really meant to be frequency specific other than the magnetic field that the Earth emits. Our feet are supposed to be in line as receptors to what the Earth is emitting, which is actually a healing type frequency that the Earth puts off. The issue is that we all wear shoes. And we all live with, like this is all insulated. There's carpeting, there's, I don't know how many feet of cement, and we live where it's cold. So the idea is that we are not getting those particular frequencies. We are being exposed to synthetic man-made frequencies. And these man-made frequencies, we have to understand the amplitude of this, that the communications industry is 3 times more influential and powerful than the drug companies. So we for a lot of years talked about, these drug companies and people manufacturing medications and marketing drugs to the consumer on TV. And we have to understand that this is a much bigger business. They're spending billions of dollars a year just in cell phone towers alone. And actually they've done research, you'll see a little later on, in Spain, where they took a newly erected cell phone tower and they wanted to see who was in close proximity, and they literally measured all of their health effects. So the closer in proximity to the tower, the worse the acceleration of aging happened. So accelerated aging, that's just one of the things that they talk about. Another thing that we are looking at is inflammation. Okay, inflammation. They've studied blood chemistries where they've installed these smart meters on people's houses. Do you guys know what smart meters are? Yeah,
some of you know. We're talking about that. Some of us don't know what they are. Really.
Okay, so the old meters, they used to send a meter reader to your house to read how much energy you used in your house. So if you have all your lights on and you're using a lot of energy, when he comes a month later, the amount of energy you sucked up, it's going to be a big number. You're going to have to pay more for electricity. What they said was, well, we can end up saving money if we put these smart meters on the side of your house, which saves a guy from going out to read the meter. So what happens is it is basically sending this information to a tower, which is remotely being accessed, and they're able to look at how much you're using without sending an actual person on foot. So they can come and they can also grab this data by an airplane, so they can literally fly over a neighborhood with a device that picks up what these things are emitting, and literally it's a computer database that just takes all the information, how much you've used, and all of that, and basically say, okay, now we'll bill them. We know what they used. Saves time for a guy walking around. We just have to pay a pilot one little flight. You catch a whole neighborhood. So that's important to understand. The health effects, though, what they're measuring is something that we're going to go over, which I brought. One of the ways to measure these frequencies that these devices emit is through a specific reader. So you can actually go in your house and you can see where these peak surges are, and you want to really steer clear of where these things are peaking out at. Because if they're peaking out, there's certain parameters that have been set, but if you're peaking out where you sleep over 5, and when I say 5, these are called microwatts per meter squared. I know unless you have a lot of physics, that doesn't really mean much, but if this meter goes over 5 and that's where you're sleeping, it's not a good thing, okay? Again, they've measured people with these smart meters, and they've measured their blood. And what happens is 7 out of 10 inflammatory markers continually climb after these meters are installed. We've seen doctors who measure this have seen cases of people with neurodegenerative conditions like Parkinson's. Literally people who have had stabilization in their Parkinson's, and they installed the smart meter on the wall that the person is sleeping on. It's on the outside of your house, but when it sends its message out, the radio frequency penetrates all the way through your house. It's most powerful on the wall that it's mounted on. So that thing is sending 190,000 frequency impulses per day. And they've seen that these people with Parkinson's rapidly degenerate and die. So this is Parkinson's that has been completely stable for many years. The only difference is they're installing this. And then these studies now are looking much more at what it does to the brain, because it has a huge impact on the brain. So where are these electromagnetic fields? They're pretty much everywhere. And I'm going to tell you where the most dangerous ones are. That's where we're going to go over tonight. Cordless phones put off the highest input. In fact, I had a video of that at our office of a cordless phone with this thing literally not even able to register. It literally goes off the chart. Now I'm talking about the base of the cordless phone. And another lady who used to have the base right next to her head on her nightstand. And once I explained this concept to her, she unplugged it and had the best sleep she's ever had at night, because the amount of radiation this thing puts off is just unbelievable. So if you think about these phones, who has a cordless phone?
Well, but does it matter if it's like 5.0 or 6. It doesn't matter what as long as it's cordless, it's putting it off.
And here's how you know. You can take the cordless part, the part you talk into, and you can walk away from that and you can still talk and get a good signal. You know what I mean? You can be 3 rooms over and you're still getting a signal. The signal is emitted from the base. So you see what I'm saying? Like, the fact that that can pick up the frequency means it's a strong, strong frequency that's being put off. Okay? Yeah, you can go out to, it's exactly what, that was one thing I did. I went out to my mailbox. My mailbox is far away from my house, and I could still get a signal on this thing. So this is a huge, huge field that's being emitted. Obviously, cell phones. We're going to do a little experiment with cell phones. Cell phones put off a pretty intense frequency. Power lines. Everybody has heard of power lines. Don't live near the power lines. Everybody's heard of that one. That's an older technology. The newer technology are these bulbs. Now these bulbs, they're making the old incandescent bulb obsolete, and the old bulb has a completely clean alternating current. No static, no crud. You read what one of these looks like, and it is literally full of pollution. Okay? So we're trying to be energy efficient. I mean, we know there's mercury in these things, right? Everybody knows. Be careful. You break it. Like the old thermometers. Don't be careful. Don't get that. Except for Don playing with the mercury when he was little. But that explains a lot now.
That does explain a lot now.
So, the long story short, you can still buy these, but they're sold as heat lamps. It's kind of funny. It's the old light bulbs are sold as heat lamps, but you can still get those. Way cleaner, especially in your workplace. You don't want this thing to be blasting you all the time with these aberrant frequencies. Okay, it's not a good thing. You will be drained, and that's how you'll feel. Again, I'm going to go through a list of the symptoms here in a minute. Talked about the smart meters. Another huge source that goes off the chart is your Wi-Fi little, what do you call that? tower or whatever, but yeah, the little thing the Wi-Fi emits the signal from will send a router. That's what it is. Thanks. The router will send that thing completely off the chart, completely bonkers. So again, the most susceptible time for these fields is when you sleep, because your nervous system goes into what's called parasympathetic. That's called rest, digest, detox, relax. Everything shuts down, quiets down. That's how you recover. When you're in fight or flight, you have some defense against these frequencies. When your body is at rest, they are the most detrimental to you. So that's why I keep reverting back to looking at the place where you sleep. You know, you can't have electronics right by your head. I have people, unfortunately, they didn't come tonight, but I have people who sleep with their phone on by their head. So I'm just going to show you before I turn anything on. Let me get a read on this room. And we might be.
You got your lights going, so.
Yeah. Well, this is the one. I mean, this one picks up specifically the really detrimental one. So we'll kind of. Yeah, this guy. I mean, this has got some heat going on here. All right, so just to give you guys an idea, like I can scan around the room here. The highest peak I'm getting is around 1.5. Okay, so there's definitely, probably there's obviously a Wi-Fi router here somewhere, but about 1.5. There's 2. Maybe it's Betty. No. Betty, it's you. No. There's 3, 5. Okay, so nothing over 5. So it's fairly, and this has a noise. The higher the frequency, it sounds like a Geiger counter. Right? You'll hear this thing kind of go bonkers. Let me see if you guys can hear it. Yeah. You guys can hear it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when I come across, there's one kind of coming right through here, but it's only about 3 or 4. I mean, it's nothing. I mean, definitely I wouldn't want to sleep in that, but there's definitely some kind of EMF floating through here. Now, I just want to give you a contrast. This is a cell phone shut off. Okay? Shut off, right? I mean, when I say shut off, it's not powered down, but I'm not dialing anything on it. So not much. I mean, now, I just turned the screen on. So I just got a surge to 77 when I turned the screen on. I did not make a call, okay? So how good is it to talk on the phone next to your brain? Anyone want to guess? Good? Not good? All right. They've actually banned cell phone use in people under 18 in the Netherlands and in Denmark because the thickness of the skull. Children's skulls are not as dense. So this actually penetrates about 5 or 6 inches deeper into the brain when you don't have a fully developed skull. So they literally got that research showing how it literally cooks the brain and said, you know what? Kids under 18 without full skeletal development are not allowed to have these. And I think that's a great idea.
They're ahead of us for sure.
They're ahead of us in many different ways, but yeah, that's not saying much. They don't allow GMO in a lot of those countries either. So anyway, I'm going to dial my voicemail just so you guys get a sense of what happens here. I'm hitting call.
Where do you get one of those meters?
I'm going to go over that over the meter. So just making a call, I mean, I've had surges over 80, 90. But the idea is that there was a surge over 70. The idea is this. You can put on your phone, some of you guys are aware of this. I'm going to do it right now. There's a function called airplane mode. Show you what happens. You put airplane mode on, this thing goes all the way down. Now let me shut off my voicemail. Takes a couple seconds, but this thing will go all the way down under 1 when you turn on airplane mode. So it literally does work. So a lot of people were saying, well, you can't you can't have a cell phone, but you turn airplane mode on it and it'll drop the frequency way, way, way down. So if you do use an alarm, my point is if you're using this as an alarm clock, a lot of people are using their smartphones as an alarm clock, you want to put it on airplane mode. Okay? Yes.
I never knew they had airplane mode on a cell phone.
Yes.
They do that because the airplanes are run by magnetism.
Right, well they say that it can interfere with the navigation system of the plane. I'm not quite sure. I mean, I know for sure that it emits something. I'm not quite sure how it would interfere with the air, but that's what it's called. It's pretty standard on all cell phones. Any smartphone, you can find airplane mode under the settings. So you can put it on airplane mode and drop the amount of radiation very quickly. So that's just your first strategy. If you have it in your pocket and you're not using it, put it on airplane mode. You know what I mean? They've shown pictures of women. I don't know if you guys have seen this thing where they could put it right here. There's like a little pouch for women. It's actually built into their bra. It's for cell phone. I don't know what that's a cute name. I saw it advertised something like your cell phone buddy, but it's a little pouch like, you know, women used to carry money in their bras. Well, people are putting their smartphones right there, and they've literally shown tumor patterns where following the line of the antenna. So the antenna is kind of L-shaped, and literally 3 tumors emerging from where she had her little phone, where she carried it. Obviously, she wasn't carrying it in airplane mode, but really scary stuff. Very scary stuff. So with all that being said, I'm going to get into a little more of the science here behind it. That's what a smart meter looks like. Everybody asks me, well, I don't know, there's a meter inside my house. I don't know if it's a smart meter. Old-fashioned meter has all these little cogs and all these little dials that looks like something that looks old-fashioned out of one of those old-fashioned sci-fi movies. A smart meter is low profile like this, and it will have this display. Okay, these are the ones in our neighborhood where you guys work. These are the ones they just installed not too long ago. Yes, right here. I went to travel to teach, I came back, that was on the side of my house. They do not warn you, they don't ask you, there's nothing with your permission. They're coming and they're putting it on. Now I called the company, I said, I want it off, and let me talk to the manager. Manager got on, we dispose of all the analog meters. We don't have anything to replace it with. I said, okay. So, which led me into more research on what to do about this, because it emits a lot of radiation, radio frequency. So,
I don't know.
you have to look. If it looks like that, you have to let me know.
We have the old one.
Good. I'm going to show you what to do. Actually, I'll tell you
But
right
how
now.
do you keep them from coming
There you go.
out? That's
So,
my question.
everybody got that? If you got the old one?
Keep it. I want to
You
keep
go,
it.
you Google, you gotta Google smart meter lock. Okay? And it's literally a lock that goes over. It's a bar. I mean, they'll send it to you. It fits the smart meter, and it basically says, do not replace my meter. Period. And you cannot access the panel because it's your house, it's your property. Yes.
We had ours changed
Yeah.
without my knowing it.
Yeah, they do it without
And
you
I
knowing.
called the company because you and I talked about it,
Yeah.
and I was infuriated.
Yes.
And I said, how can you change something like this when I have these health conditions I've been working with like forever?
Right.
I'm electromagnetic sensitive.
You got it.
I got so bad that I couldn't ride in an airplane, it paralyzed me, they had to take me off in a wheelchair, I couldn't talk on a telephone, I couldn't ride in a car and put my feet on the floorboard because I felt like I was being electrocuted.
Yep.
I had to take my headboard about 3 feet away from the wall.
Yep.
Because just the electricity running through the wall
Yeah.
current, not plugged in anything
No,
in
just
it,
the wiring.
was frying
Right.
me.
Yep.
I mean, I was deathly ill from this.
Yes.
I could feel, I'm sitting here, I could feel the electricity lights.
Most people who have any kind of chronic issues will
Have
have
no
that.
idea.
Well, they will have that sensitivity that you're talking about. And the other thing that this does, I'm going to go over some symptoms, but if you look at the bottom, the last one, this is what we see in our office: chronic immune suppression and infections.
Yep.
You want to keep an infection that won't go away, and I'm not talking about getting the flu. I'm talking about chronically inflamed, sick, chronically ill people will have sensitivity to electromagnetic stress. And it looks like autoimmune disease. It looks like other things, you know, it looks like serious things, and it is a serious thing. But the reality is that we need to start addressing this issue. It accelerates neurodegeneration, pro-inflammatory, disrupts your sleep. It's the number one. I was telling you about that lady who had it by her head. Number one thing she said, I wonder why I stopped sleeping. And the person I wanted to come here really has an issue with sleep. And she has the cell phone right next to her head when she sleeps. You know what she said when we asked her, why do you have the cell phone? What if something happens? What if something, I gotta know, what if something happens? So the point is that it's really, and now most people will override the electromagnetic stress and take drugs to sleep. So what the modern person does is, I can't sleep, I'm going to take drugs and I'm going to force myself into sleep. And that's pretty much the strategy, right?
You know what the company tells you if you call them? And I ask why and how could they change it without my permission or even letting me know they were going to do it? They said they don't have to do it because they own the meters, it's their property, and they can do whatever they want to do with it, and you can't do anything to stop it.
So remember I said at the beginning, 3 times more powerful than pharmaceutical companies? This is no joke. Let me tell you what they're doing with this. Now, I'm just talking about the health implications tonight. And I'm going to tell you about why so many other people are going nuts when they found out about these things. And it literally transmits, they can read, and I watched the whole thing on the, now these are computer nerds, okay? So, no offense to you guys, but these are computer nerds. They are electromagnetic signatures that they can sync up, and they can tell you exactly what you are watching or looking at on your computer. They can tell you when your refrigerator kicked on, when it kicked off, when your furnace kicked on, when it kicked off. I mean, they can give you an ultra detailed report, and what they're doing is they're selling this information to third parties for marketing. So if you like watching, you know, like the National Rifle, whatever, every night you watch people go hunting, you're going to start getting a lot of stuff with hunting. I started getting these things from, what do you call it, National Geographic. The kids watch like the Animal Planet and all these different things about, you know, planet Earth and the Arctic. And all of a sudden I got this thing, it's about like, and it's a nice advertisement. National Geographic presents the whatever nature series. And I'm like, where did I get this? Where do I get this from? I don't subscribe to any kind of magazines. So it's really crazy what they're doing with the information. So there are the computer guys out there that are putting programs in that override, it gives you a fake electromagnetic signature that overrides this. So they really are getting a phony signature. It's not really what you're doing. It's a mask of what you're really doing. And that's cool. I mean, I think that's kind of neat. They were so excited, these guys, and I couldn't understand them. They were trying to speak English, but they were from Germany. But they were really excited that they developed this program that overrides the signature just for your privacy. And I'm thinking we need to override the electromagnetic pollution because that's what's even more dangerous. Short-circuiting the electrical patterns of the heart. The heart is electric. You want to have arrhythmias, atrial fibrillation, all these other issues, heart palpitations. This definitely is a really toxic to the electrocardiophysiology. Headaches. The rouleau effect is what they studied. And what they did was they took someone and they did an analysis of their blood under the microscope. And the blood cells should, I'm going to show you a picture of them, they should be not clumping together. Okay? 10 minutes on her cordless phone, they redid her blood. Her blood went from free-floating to clumped up in 10 minutes. And they did it, she did it again, she did an exercise on the treadmill, which is plugged into the wall. And when that belt goes, it emits the EMFs. And they got her, because what was happening is that they had a woman who had blood sugar issues, and she managed her diabetes naturally. And every time her blood sugar would creep up, she would go out and go for a jog. Okay, come back, blood sugar would be down under range, never needed to do medication. And she lives up in Canada, so it got cold. She bought this fancy treadmill. I'm going to do the same run that I do outside, inside. She does it, her blood sugar goes up, doubles. And all of a sudden they're wondering, well, what's going on? And anyway, she ended up getting one of these meters similar to this one and saw what it was emitting when she got those, when she had that belt turning on that treadmill, it's emitting tons of electromagnetic pollution. So you always feel better going out to the park versus doing it in your basement. I guarantee you that, because there's no EMFs in the middle of the park, or very little, I should say. So anyway, ADD, ADHD, autism, another doctor we study with. All he does, he has a huge autistic children practice. He said this, and this always will stick with me. He has never had an autistic child recover when they do not shield their sleeping area. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to shield your sleeping area. He can do everything he can do. He can get them a little bit better, but he can never get them resolved until they shield the EMF from where they sleep. As soon as he basically makes a canopy of material that reflects the EMF, which I'm going to go over some of that, and that's the only time they fully recover. So lots of interesting things. Like I said, most dangerous at night. Study in Spain, remember I was telling you about that? Proximity to their cell phone tower. You want to know the people who got sickest the fastest? They were the closest to the tower. Check out some of these symptoms: fatigue, headaches, difficulty concentrating, memory loss, irritability, skin problems, dizziness, movement difficulty. These are all central nervous system issues. Okay? So, feeling of discomfort, depression, visual disturbance, hearing disruptions, cardiovascular, loss of appetite, nausea. You look at what was listed there, and these were people who were electro-hypersensitive. So sensitive to the smog and pollution created by the electromagnetic fields. They alter brain protein. The lady that did the research, you want to read her name? Down there?
I can't see.
Oh, that's. What about you?
Oh, he's got.
You had it.
Dr. University of Athens.
Fragopulu.
Yeah.
Anyway, the long story short, cellular biologist, this lady's a PhD, she saw 143 mammalian brain proteins altered from EMF exposure. 143 proteins in your brain cooked. Do you guys know what denaturing of proteins is? If you cook an egg, it's gelatinous, you put heat, it folds in, folds up into like a scrambled egg. You can't unscramble the egg. 143 brain proteins altered from EMF exposure. This is scary, scary stuff. They linked it to dizziness, blood pressure, memory issues. Again, less than 5 microwatts per meter squared are the European levels of safety. That some people say should be under 1. There's some experts that say you shouldn't even go over 1. But they say 5. And then on the other end, they have people say, well, you can go up to 100. And some people say you can go up to 1,000. The reality is that this is not normal for our human nervous system. It's not normal. So, are you a good conductor? A lot of people ask about what they can do in the meantime. Now, this is a book that was written by a cardiologist, and what he saw was the blood thickening, that roulet effect, where it was causing blood to become sticky and heavy and increase the clotting ability of the blood, which is not good. You don't want to increase your clotting factors. But what he said was that if you can get your feet in contact, your barefoot in contact with the grass or the ground, the actual earth, that you will basically dissipate the harmful charges. But you would have to do that around 20 minutes a day minimum. Now, some people who are sicker need to do it longer to get the inflammation out of their body. But you can conduct EMF by having heavy metal toxicity. So a lot of people, if you don't know if you have heavy metal toxicity, we do testing. You can either do a hair analysis, or even more accurate is a urine push, where we put a chelator. You eat something that pulls metals out, and you see how much you pee out. If you're excreting a lot of heavy metal, you think about what happens if I'm holding a metal umbrella in an electrical storm. Not a good thing. I'll get electrocuted. Well, you're not going to be any different by all these waves coming through here. Betty, it was the dental implants that I was picking up on there. Because dental implants are the #1 thing that they found. They found the amalgams and that they put inside, they drill inside of the jaw. that will actually conduct this. Your bed springs conduct it. So if you have a mattress that has the old coiled springs, will conduct electricity. EMFs will be conducted. Bluetooth, they use your head as an antenna. You see guys talking, but you don't know who they're talking to. They have a little bud in there. Well, it's being transmitted from the phone. Most cars are emitting that. You can pick up a car Bluetooth. If you just turn on your cell phone, it'll search for surrounding Bluetooth. So this stuff is everywhere. Obviously, wearing shoes will block the beneficial dissipation of that stress. Electric cars are extremely dangerous. Same thing with the turbines, okay? Turbines. Now turbines are the big things, the wind, they capture wind and they make electricity. Well, there's a mechanism in there that emits a lot of EMFs. Now you don't have one close to you, and it's not in your backyard, but it's something to think about because they use the same technology for these electric cars. Dr. Klinghardt, he's one of the doctors who have done immense amounts of research on that. I highly recommend checking him out on YouTube. If you just put his last name and you put EMF, you'll find lots of information. He's done a ton of research. He's a medical doctor from Germany. He's done a lot of research on that. Book is great here about earthing and about dissipating the sludge that we accumulate. And there's some penetration. That's an adult skull, so it's not penetrating that deep, right? Almost to the other ear. So imagine with a little kid's skull, this whole high intensity area is completely cooking their brains, which we don't want that. Some starting point is unplugging your Wi-Fi at night. If you had the choice to actually go to a corded internet, you know, remember the old cords you used to plug in? If you have that choice, that's actually the best. There's no EMF coming off of that. You plug a router in and it goes off it's bonkers, it goes off the chart. Use airplane mode on your phone, we talked about that. With your cell phone, do not use the Bluetooth headphones. I had people that are like, well yeah, I use headphones when I talk on I never put the cell next to my head. But you're using Bluetooth. You can't use Bluetooth, you need an actual cord. It comes standard with most phones. You plug the cord in here, it's two little buds, and keep the thing at the far end of that cord. When you if you have to talk on the phone, do not talk with it right next to your head like that. Okay, put the cord in and talk to it like that. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Let's see if I have, yeah. So yeah, the cord would look like this. Give you an idea. So that's a good distance away from the phone, because that thing drops off in increments the further away you go. Now, a lot of you are asking, well, how are they going to hear you if you have headphones in? Well, this is a little microphone right here. It goes right near your voice box, so they can hear you clearly, just like you're talking to them. But keep that thing away from you if you have to stay on a cell phone. Okay? So, I know you don't have a cell phone,
No,
but
I'm so happy.
most people do. Alright, smart meter lock. You're talking about if you still have your analog meter, get a smart meter lock. They're very inexpensive and they're very effective on keeping them from going in there and without your permission. They did it at our office too, by the way. And then of course it led me to more research, which is the smart meter guard. So, if they have it on your house and there's no getting it off of your house, get a smart meter guard. And of course, an engineer created what's called a Faraday cage. Faraday cage is a grounded and shielded cage, and it keeps the contents of what's being emitted into the meter. It leaks a little bit out, but not much. The reason it leaks a little out is they can still get somewhat of a little bit of a read, so they make sure you're not tinkering around with your electric bill. So it doesn't throw any red flag, but it does drastically drop that reading. In fact, if you do smart meter guard on YouTube, and you'll see the guy with this very same detector, and the guy outside is pulling it off and putting it on, and you can see the thing when he pulls it off, goes through the roof. When he puts it on, I mean, he's just standing there doing it, reproducing those surges. Yes?
I'm sorry, I forgot to mention to you, I did notice the electric company guy had to come up, drive up to the building.
Really?
After you put the guard on, had to come up, and he had he was
Had to get
reading, had to
close.
get close to it to read it.
Yeah.
And he was up there for a
He
while.
couldn't stay in his car, oh no. But,
I got a question. What's your, you had made mention that it's technically their property. What would prevent them, the meter company, from saying, hey, I'm gonna call the cops, you gotta take that off, that's my property?
it's a good question. It might need some researching, but that is a solution that is people who still have the analog meters, that is the solution. And there are little notes, I've had that one doctor, Dr. Klinghardt, he actually creates a form saying exactly what you said. I am electrosensitive, here's the story, I can't have that. And it's like a medical exemption.
I wish I would've known that.
So yeah, like a medical exemption form, maybe coupled with a smart meter lock, that might be a really good strategy.
Where would you suggest putting it on your house?
The,
Obviously away from the bedrooms.
you mean the meter itself?
The meter itself.
Yeah, I mean, if it's on the opposite side of your house, you're going to reduce the intensity of it, but I mean, you can actually still pick it up even over there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you how to shield the bedding area, but yeah, a lot of them, they don't even give you the choice.
Right.
Like our house, our bedrooms happen to be on the side where the smart meter is. I mean, it's not like our kitchen's on the other side. I mean, we could move our beds into the kitchen, that wouldn't make much sense, but that's pretty much, it is what it is. So the corded phone is where we gotta go. Back to the corded phone.
Yeah.
The old fashioned.
Remember
Right,
that?
the old
I'm not
dial
saying
phone
rotary, you
sale
don't have to
coming
go
back.
to rotary, but I'm just saying, they used to have push buttons on the corded phone.
Yeah, we
I
have.
still have one.
You
I have a
better
rotary phone.
Maybe you
swap it back out.
Yeah, why don't
Swap
you
it back
try
out. That is,
I still have one.
yeah, we still have,
My meters, I'm in trouble.
some of these people are saying, what's a
You're
corded
really
phone?
true with what you're saying about the shoes and the
Around
ground
right in my
and
room.
doing that. When I was deathly ill and I went down to Texas to the world leading doctor down there, when I was so deathly ill.
Yep.
He had 800 doctors down there worldwide. When I was there, they brought their patients with them that they couldn't treat, okay, because he was supposed to teach them. And when the people were getting sick, because they were doing allergy testing and all kind of other stuff to them, when they got deathly sick, they made them go out on the grass. They were
Yep.
all over the place.
Yep.
Sitting on the ground,
Yep.
no shoes on, sitting on your butt, laying down for hours
Oh my
to pull all that out. I mean, they were all over there like flies.
Yeah, and in fact, we've had patients with cancer.
Grossman.
Yeah, Warren Grossman, he was deathly ill. He's in Cleveland. He wrote a whole book, Healed by the Earth. He had a massive parasitic infection from visiting South America. Came back, he was pretty much dying. He said he felt like the need to go lay down on the ground,
Yeah.
and he got better.
Yeah.
One of our cancer patients, she had a brain tumor and had spread to her ovaries. It's exactly what she did. She started doing that over and over and over again. Better and better and better. Inflammatory markers come down. The blood health improves. The idea is that if you have a basement in your house and you can find an area that's not covered, where it's just cement, no, I mean just the cement that they put down, you can actually plant your feet on that cement, sit there, or just stand there, and you can actually get the effect from the Earth's magnetic field through that. Now, if you have multiple layers like tile and glue and wood floors and where there's a lot of layers, it's not as effective. But if you can find an unfinished area in your basement, it's a good thing to do during the winter. I mean, right now it's not that cold. Same thing with jet lag. And if you guys travel across time zones, one of the quickest ways to offset jet lag is to ground yourself, to earth yourself. Take your shoes and socks off and you go walk around in the grass. Make sure it's not sprayed with herbicides and pesticides, but put your feet down.
You can hug the tree too.
You can hug the tree, absolutely. Now, there's even crazier technologies based off of this because people live in climates where it's not feasible to be barefoot all the time. They're using two technologies that are working really good to offset this. Number one is called PEMF, pulsed electromagnetic fields. These are beneficial frequencies that are reproducible. It's kind of expensive. They do make smaller ones, smaller units that aren't expensive, and then they make grounding mats. Now the ground, guys, if you look at the outlet, it's, for those of you who aren't electricians, it's the round one at the bottom, that's the ground. If you follow that out, it should be a deep post somewhere, deep into the ground. Ground. grounded into the earth. You can actually get a plug that just goes into that round one, the bottom one there, and plugs into a mat, and you actually lay on that mat, and it can harness the same frequency as if you were walking on the bare earth with your bare foot. So I have people that, like, at night, they put their feet up and watch their TV show. They have that under their calves. So they'll have a grounding mat under their calves while they're watching their TV show, and it's dissipating all the stress. I have other people that will actually put it under their bed, and they'll actually sleep on it. They'll sleep all night on it. And I have people getting results that have been reported that is way better, inflammatory-wise, when they're sleeping on a grounding mat.
Then this would have to change your polarity of your body too, then. if
Yeah,
it's doing
it changes
all that,
everything.
just
And
stop
the
everything up.
stickiness, all of that, absolutely. The cellular electronics is what's getting affected in a negative way. So, those are two, again, starting points. There is the roulette effect of all those guys. Those are literally stacked up on top of each other. They should be all by themselves. All of those should be floating around. And there are many, many different ways to do that. This is just a cordless phone, okay? 10 minutes on a cordless phone, clumping the blood that fast. And afterwards, they did a study of her unplugging the phone and just walking around, and all of that stuff unclumped. All of her blood clumping unclumped. Now, a lot of people want to know strategies that they can offset the electromagnetic radiation that they don't control. Like right now, if I open my cell phone up, I would be able to find not only all the Wi-Fi networks, but I would also be able to find how strong of a signal from the cell tower, which would be really strong where we are right now. I could go into my friends, the Amish, into their house. And they say, well, I don't have electricity. My house, I built the house, I didn't even put wiring in it. I said, that's great. I turned my cell phone on. I got all 4 bars. Full strength. I go, you see that? Full strength signal coming right through where you sleep. So a lot of people want to get expensive meters, and what I'm saying is, you turn on your cell phone and you can see your neighbor's Wi-Fi in your bedroom. Their router, it's about this big. I had the guy across the street from me, his Wi-Fi, I don't know what kind of router he has, but his Wi-Fi, man, I have like 3-4 bars on his network. Okay, he's literally, 500 yards away, and 600 yards away, and I have all of his bars. Okay? Vitanox, what they did, the British Medical Journal did studies on rosmarinic acid. Okay, Vitanox is a rosemary extract that we use. It's an antioxidant. Vitanox offsets the negative effects of EMFs. So I tell people there are nutrients to protect you. I've talked to you about rosemary. We literally, for electrosensitive people, we will adjust them, expose them, and we literally reset the blown circuits as we adjust. Until I can put this phone with my call going out and that nerve system doesn't blow out. I will stress it, adjust it, stress it, adjust it, stress, adjust, until I stress it and there's no more stress signal coming off the nervous system. Is it going to benefit you still doing all these other precautions? Absolutely, but you need to improve your nerve system's strength so you're not blown out with these fields that we're all getting exposed to. So adjustments are effective in that regard. That's what the desensitization of your nerve system is. There are mushroom extracts. We have a lot of mushroom extracts that work well for EMFs. Miso soup, which is a fermented Japanese soup, actually has big protections against radiation. Iodine and iodide. We have nutrients that have a 60-40 split. 60% iodine, 40% iodide. That protects you big time. Every time I have to go through an airport or travel, I will go berserk with Vitanox and iodine. I will take, iodoral is the one that you were telling me about. I have one called iodozyme. But it's the same idea. Your body will use that as a shield from radiation, ionizing radiation. Antioxidants. So all of those things, very important, basic strategies that work. Releasing the accumulation, that's what that earthing mat looks like. I put a picture of it because I wanted to show you what it plugging just into the ground. The ground is that little circular one at the bottom. It just plugs into the ground. You don't want to plug it into the, obviously the alternating current. That's not going to be a good thing for you. But the ground is a good thing. So 15 to 30 minutes of grounding. Obviously soaking in the ocean amplifies the Earth's electromagnetic field. We have a lot of people, the snowbirds report back to me, and they say, well, I felt so good, all my symptoms felt so much better. I was walking on the beach, or I was soaking in the ocean. They tell me this. They're also inhaling iodine from the ocean, evaporated iodine. They always feel less inflamed, less better. I was more mobile. I felt better. I came back here, got off the plane, felt like crap. Okay, yes?
I have a question then. How come every time I get near the ocean, I immediately end up in emergency? It freaks my system out so bad I can't be near it.
You have an iodine allergy, right? You're allergic to iodine. So that's why. Yeah, so I wouldn't go into the ocean. That wouldn't be the best strategy for you. But walking around on the grass, very good strategy. Okay, just don't spray herbicides
What
or
about the
pesticides.
pendants that you can wear that's supposed to ward off the EMF?
I'm going to show you that too, because that's a whole another strategy, different way.
Different way?
Yeah, I'll show you that. Repair the nervous system. Inositol and good fats. Inositol is a B vitamin. It creates a thicker conductive coating on your nerves. If your nerves don't have a good insulation on them, you're going to be more susceptible to this stuff. Hence MS, hence ALS, hence all these other things that are super sensitive. They demyelinate the nerve. So we want to remyelinate the nerve with good fats and inositol. Go to a springless bed. There's lots of beds that don't have springs that you can get. There's beds that are made from natural materials, not these rubber foams that smell, and you're going to inhale all the estrogens from these rubber foam beds. I had people that go and get the rubber foam beds, the memory foam beds, and they say, I can't even go in my room, it smells so bad like rubber. So you got to be careful. Get a healthy material. If you need any help on that, I'll point you in the right direction. But that's the grounding mat. That's rosemary, if you guys who aren't part of the Herb Society don't know what rosemary looks like. That's what you put in your lamb, marinate your lamb with rosemary. All right. So let's get into the shielding, because this is what everybody's asking about. What shielding works? Number one, you have to get the proper read on the electrical system of your house. Okay? If your house is emitting this kind of frequency, if it's that much pollution coming out of your little outlets, like you said, Eileen, where you had to pull your bed away from the wall, it's just the wiring is emitting this frequency. That's what's going on. If you plug that meter in and you see a reading like that, 134, that is not good. That's bad. Okay, the German, I can't pronounce his name right now, the German researcher who came up with these, but he called it dirty electricity, and that was a translation from German to English. And they shortened his name a whole bunch of I's and letters, and we call it a Stetzer filter. That's the Americanized name. A Stetzer filter. These are the filters he came up with. So essentially what he does is he sells these in packs of 20, depending on how many outlets you have in your house. It comes with one dirty electricity detector, and you don't treat all your outlets. You only treat the ones that give you wacky output. Okay, and what it does is you put that on there and it quiets all of that crud EMF signal off of your wires. It shuts it down, filters all the junk out. So there's none of these peaks like we were finding here. Okay, so that's really simple. You would only treat the outlets that are producing wacky surges out on that. So you have to have, it doesn't make sense to plug all these in everywhere. And everybody's like, well, I'll just buy 100 of them, I'll plug it into every outlet in my house. Well, it doesn't make sense. Do the ones that are producing the most interference, quiet those down, quiet the noise down, okay?
Excuse me, so do you find out with that?
So this
Right.
is checking for radio frequency.
Oh.
Okay, so your cordless phone, I come over to your house,
Right,
and put this, it will go off the chart. It's the
Okay.
worst. If you have Wi-Fi, I don't know if you have Wi-Fi, but if you did, or I went by your router, it would literally short this thing out
But
completely.
not that other stuff.
It's not going to check the stuff in the wiring of your house. This one is specific. You actually plug it in like that, right into the wall, and you plug every outlet, and you just hold it there and see how much surge is coming off of that.
That thing will say it.
Yeah, it'll give you a read, and you want to get them all under 5. As soon as you put that filter in, you literally can plug that in.
Where do you get them?
I'll show you how to get all that here at the end. I have all the resources at the end. So that's the Stetzer filter. Okay, that's your household wiring. Okay, that's first step. Second step. Everybody's asking about pendants. Right?
Oh,
Block
you
it.
got one.
So you can use EMF shielding pendants. Now they make devices. Don has one on back there. But you could put that, and that keeps the blood from clumping up as well. You saw how the blood was sticking like that? They've done studies, live blood work with these on, and it does the same effect. It takes the bond where they're sticky and it frees them up. I'm going to send some of these around, and it shows you some of the different. Let's see, 3 here. It shows some of the. Just take one and pass it back. Shows you some of the products on there. This is something, for computer guys. I have one of these. This one plugs right into your USB port. It gives you a sphere of 30 feet of protection. So I like using this when I'm at work. I'm in front of the computer all day, and I just plug it right into USB. It lights up, and that's how you know it's on. And it literally shields you. So some people will wear the pendant. Some people will just do this. Other people don't have computers, or they don't have their computer on at night. What this has, you can order an adapter that will plug right into your wall, and you plug this into that adapter, and it'll give you a 30-foot circular circumference of protection. So if, let's say, your sleeping quarters, I would plug it right into a wall in your bedroom, and then just plug this thing right into it, and and shield yourself. But all that is there.
Can you plug that in the wall and put your computer into that, and does it shield you in the room there where the computer is when you're on the computer?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I move mine around. When I travel, I'll take it with me. Because if you go to a hotel room and you want to talk about opening your phone up and seeing what kind of things you're getting blasted with, I mean, it is unbelievable. There's just tons of that. So yeah, most hotel rooms are not bigger than 30 feet in a circle here. I mean, you'd cover this whole room by plugging one. Same thing with these Stetzer filters. If the room has that wiring fault where it's really emitting a lot of dirty electricity because of their electrical system, I've seen one of those quiet an entire conference room down. When I say a conference room, I'm talking like 600 people conference room. One of those filters quiet down several hundred points. Now the lady knew what she was doing. She walked around and found the one that was putting out the most crud, and of course put the filter on that. But from her podium, it quieted all the way down to several hundred points down. So that's something. These are all strategies. You see they make bracelets, they make pendants, they make little sticky things that will go on your cell phone. It's about the size of that little circle at the bottom. They're pretty low profile. They're not going to cut your face or anything like that. They make Y-Shield paint. Now Y-Shield paint means like no matter what, you're stuck with like you were talking about the bedroom on the side of the smart meter, and there's just no way you could reposition your bed. You're stuck. What you do is you paint the wall, the meter's on the other side, you paint that wall, and then you can paint over that paint. That paint has fibers in it that reflect the EMF. Now at the bottom of that paint, there's actually a little plate that plugs right into your ground. So it actually grounds the entire wall.
Oh, that's wild.
It's wild stuff. But you can, and then you can paint over it. I mean, it's not going to look funny. I mean, you can paint any color you want over top of it. But it works really well. It's called Y-Shield paint. The other thing that you can do if you don't want to get into painting and grounding a whole wall out, they have canopies that have a little bit of these fibers in there. They also have shears that look just like that, and they have a little bit. So if you're getting blasted, let's say, from your neighbor, it's coming through your window, you get little shears like that that reflect it back. Reflect it right back at him, maybe amplify his signal a little bit. Right back at you, buddy. The little cell phone shields I showed you. Another researcher, toxicologist, Dr. Magda Havis. You wanna get a mind-bending experience. Listen to her in the research. I'm just showing you like tidbits here. I could talk, a whole day on this, but I'm just showing you some of these tidbits. But she's an expert in this, and literally people come and consult her who cannot get better anywhere else. She goes to their house, and she literally has 3 different meters. She has the radio frequency meter, she has this one here, the Stetzer meter, and then she has the third one called a tri-field. A tri-field meter is very inexpensive, and it picks up electrical noise too. So not just from your outlets and not just the radio frequency, it does electrical, it does electromagnetic, and it does 3 different frequencies. And it's all on 1 meter. So it's a handy little meter, it's called tri-field. And you can get them on Amazon fairly cheap. The company that I use to get this is called Gigahertz Solutions. It's just a higher end. I was so upset about the installation of these things on my house that I bought this meter and started going and checking everything. You know what had a higher frequency than any of the other stuff? My Apple TV. You guys know what Apple TV is? A little box that runs off of your internet, and you can watch YouTube on your TV, and you can watch all that just like it's a TV channel. It was going through my wall, into my bedroom, right through where I was sleeping, right through where my head was. I was like, oh my goodness. So I unplugged the Apple TV at night, quiet everything down. So these are very, very simple strategies that work, and these have been time-tested strategies. So there you go. How are you going to measure your result? I have all your meters right there. Tri-field meter, Gigahertz Solutions is where we got this meter. It's right there. It's HF35C. That's the most common one. Dirty electricity outlet protection. That's the Stetzer meters I just told you about. Sleep tracking app. I've had multiple people go and put pull all their crud out and quiet their house down at night, and then track their sleep while it's in airplane mode. Track their sleep, and their sleep quality improves 50, 60, 70% just by quieting all the electromagnetic pollution out of your house at night when you sleep. So unplugging their Wi-Fi, just real basic stuff. Unplugging the cordless phone, just real basic strategies. It works really well. Switching over to the old-fashioned incandescent light bulbs. LED, the verdict's still out. A lot of people are showing that that's a much cleaner frequency. It's not emitting like the compact fluorescent is absolutely the worst. But they're saying that LED is not nearly as toxic. The old-fashioned though is the best. The incandescent light bulb is the best, cleanest anyway. Mercola.com. A lot of you want to look at some research on this. The lady, he interviewed the lady who showed all the brain protein shifting. TakeBackYourPower.net. That was the video I wanted to show you. It's a little documentary, and they talk not only about the health issues, they talk about how they're using this information. Anyway, TakeBackYourPower.net. And then again, I was telling you about some of these ranges, Some European standards say don't go over 1,000, some say don't go over 5, some say don't go over 1. The smart meters, when we register them, go in a range from 50,000 to 190,000 on this meter. You want to talk about several times above what's safe, no matter whose standards you go by. 190,000. Mine tapped out at over 190,000. It shuts off after that. It doesn't go past that. The phone, cordless phone tapped out over 190,000. The Apple TV tapped out over 190,000. Scary stuff, but if you know where it's coming from and you have solutions, you can help.
The small TV antennas that they're putting on your houses now.
Oh, the dish?
Dishes.
That's good. I've never tested that.
Because when
I'm going to go right to my neighbor's house and
When I
find
started-
He's going to shoot me right on the spot.
I'm asking that question because when my neighbor next door and I started getting real sick when he did this, years ago he put up one of those big, huge
Yeah, I've seen those
things,
ginormous ones.
and I could feel it immediately in my home.
Right.
And I kept getting sicker and sicker. He
Yeah.
got a brain tumor, 2 months after
Wow.
he put it in, he died from it. And the
Wow.
neighbor across, right next to him, got a brain tumor and died from it
Oh
too.
my
Wow.
God.
I mean,
Wow.
it just went, and I went, whoa, what the heck's
Wow.
happening here?
Wow.
You know, and that's when my body started breaking down.
It would be great to measure.
And then they took that down, and,
Thank goodness.
but they were already dead, so,
Well.
you know,
My
Yeah.
whatever.
God.
So measuring your results, I can't stress this enough. You know, you can do this basic things I'm telling you about, unplugging things, airplane mode, great. But really going through, if you're highly electrosensitive, going through and measuring, making sure you're shutting down these sources is where it's at.